and welcome to the Battle Line Podcast, where we have conversations on that collision of space between community, faith, and culture. I'm one of your hosts, Matt Satterley, and here with me is the Director of Publications, my co-host on this podcast, my co-host in life, Major Jamie Satterley. How are you doing today, Major Jamie?
I am doing all right. The sun is shining. It's a good day.
We also have with us here our co-host, producer, the one who makes this whole Battle Line Podcast run, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, how are you doing today?
I am stoked to the max.
Stoked and all right. Very good.
All right. So we're just going to jump right into today's episode. It's with a little bit of sadness that we announce or have to say to you that this will probably be the last episode of the Battle Line Podcast. You may or may not know that Matt and I have been received transfer orders to return to the Southern Territory from our appointment here at National Headquarters. And so with our departure, it looks like the Battle Line Podcast will be going on a permanent hiatus.
That sounds like the Mafia hit.
No, it does, doesn't it?
You're taking them out.
So we thought that we would kind of wrap up this podcast with maybe some recommendations that can help you kind of just go further in youth ministry, some things that have been helpful to us. So we just want to pass them along and share them with you.
Yeah, thanks, Major Jamie. Yes, as you heard Major Jamie say, this again was we just wanted an episode where we could conclude things. Not to say that the Battle Line Podcast might not be resurrected. We believe in the resurrection at some point. But for the time being, just because of officer shortages across the country and things like that, the Battle Line Podcast is just going to have to go for a quick hibernation for a little bit. So, Major Jamie and I and Elizabeth were talking. We thought it would be great to have an episode where we just sort of maybe pass along a few of our favorite things to you that will help in maybe furthering your youth ministry, furthering your leadership, and just some ministry help to you. Now, again, let's just say this. Can I just put this disclaimer out there before we get into this? Just as you know, the Bible, like we were having this conversation with our daughters the other night, like the book of Judges in the Bible. And Major Jamie had this great line where she said to our daughters, sometimes the Bible reports stuff and doesn't support stuff. Like if you read the book of Judges, you'll understand. If you haven't read it, you will. So some of these podcasts, these books, these videos that we're going to think, they have been very helpful to us. These do not serve as recommendations from the Salvation Army. They are just things that have been helpful to us. And again, who knows? You may be listening to this episode 1, 2, 3, 5 years from now. Some other things have come up. We never know what's going to happen in 3, 5 years. So like maybe one of these authors, you just never know. So just as you hear these things, take it with a grain of salt, some logic, some reasoning, and knowing that they have just been helpful to us. We're passing them along to you.
Yeah, it's not necessarily we're saying that everything found within that, is necessarily translatable, but there are, at least things or aspects that we say like, okay, this has been helpful and we think it might be helpful to somebody else.
Yep. So let's get into this. First, we've got 5 sections here that we're going to jump into. And the first section is podcast. Now, we're grateful that you've been listening to the Battle Line Podcast, but now we want to share some other podcasts that you can listen to that should help you with your youth ministry and with your spiritual life, with your leadership, all that good stuff. All right. So, Major Jamie, would you like to go first on this one? Would you like to share some of these podcasts that have been very helpful to you?
So this one, my first one, Matt's going to talk about, he has a ton of youth ministry podcasts that he's been listening to over the last, 10 years that he particularly has been in youth ministry. So I'm going to let him cover all those. But I'll say one that has helped me outside of youth ministry, has helped me as a mother and as a person, is the Lazy Genius podcast. So the Lazy Genius, it's this lady, Kendra Adachi, and she talks about like being a genius, like how you can kind of streamline your life and make decisions once these kind of things to be the most effective, like not worrying about, these things that are really not so important, but really kind of how to streamline your life and how to focus on, to make space for the things that really are important. And so she has 2 books. The main one is all about like these 13 principles to just kind of, help you major in the important things. And so the podcast comes out every week, but it's pretty quick. It's not a long podcast, but it's stuff like, how to survive the summer when your kids are out of school. What are some things that you can do and put into place that help everybody function in the way they need to. So, it's not at all ministry related, but it helps me kind of get organized in my personal life, which then helps me be better in ministry, if that makes sense. So I know we've done a review. We reviewed her podcast and stuff for Peer. So, I mean, it's just, I have both of her books. I found both of them helpful. And the podcast is a quick, easy listen. And there are often things there that help me translate into my own life. One of her principles is decide once. And so she decided one time on every Monday, I'm going to wear this same thing. I was like, listen, that translates over. I wear the same thing 6 days a week.
Rocking that
Now,
uniform.
That's not my lazy genius principle. That's somebody else's principle that applies to my life. So, but it's things like that. Like, okay, I can make a decision on this one time. Like she always buys the exact same gift every time she goes to a baby shower. So she made a decision once. Now, every time she gets invited, she doesn't have to think about it. There's no stressing. No, what am I going to buy? She just knows. Order it off Amazon. Done.
Very cool.
So anything that takes the stress out of my life is appreciated by me.
Thanks, Major Jamie. So I've got 7 quick podcasts here I want to recommend to you. So 2 of them, if you just Google youth ministry podcasts, you're going to be shown a metric ton. And I would recommend that because some of them maybe you may like that I didn't like. So, but there are 2 youth ministry podcasts that rise to the top. Definitely the first Salvation Army one is the Say Network podcast. That is the Salvation Army podcast from the Territorial Youth Department in the Western United States, the Western Territory. So the Say Network podcast, check them out. They do great work. They go in seasons, so you want to listen to that. And then the other one that's not Army is you want to check out the Relevant podcast. That is from Relevant Magazine, which will keep you in the loop with what's going on in youth culture and the things that are helpful there. Now, those are the 2 youth ones I like. The other ones that have been helpful to me, again, let's keep it Salvation Army. You can't go wrong with the wonderful words of life. Salvation Army puts out in the Southern Territory. So check that out. Good leadership stuff, good devotionals, good thoughts. And you can hear those on radio stations as well as, we have Ambassadors of Holiness, Doctors Bill and Reverend Diane Urie. Dr. Bill has a podcast called The Hour of Holiness, which is just, it's not an hour long. It's just, that's the name of it. So you'll want to check that one out. That one is good for your spiritual edification as well. 2 that I like right now that are very helpful is the Bible Project. I am in love with the Bible Project. They are very helpful with website, with podcasts, I know Major Jamie uses their stuff, their videos profusely. You YouTube channel Bible Project and you will find an animated drawing on every book of the Bible, which is fantastic. Major Jamie, anything you want to say about Bible Project?
No, I was going to talk about this under video recommendations.
Oh, sorry.
But yes, they do. No, it's okay. They do. They have lots of good, like Matt said, every book of the Bible they have a video on. They also have like word studies or things like the Shema. They have a whole video series on the Shema. They also, and the thing is, like, they make these available to download, so you don't even have to illegally stream it to show it to your group,
it's
right?
Free. It's all free.
Yeah.
They would like a donation, but it's all free.
Yep. But they also have graphics resources. So like if you're doing a word study or a book study, you can download their graphics for free. So it's just a really great resource. Oftentimes, if I'm preparing for a message or something, that's one of the first places I go. I just type in what I'm searching for, and it'll, take me to podcasts, videos, graphics, discussion guides, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
So, yeah, it's a really great resource.
If you're in it, Tim Mackey is the guy that is in charge over at the Bible Project. If you like him, the other podcast, number 6, that I would recommend is called My Strange Bible. It's his teaching when he was pastor Corps officer for the Salvation Army, phrasing. And then the last one, if you're looking for one that's a little bit edgy, the PR Magazine has done an article on them before, and that is the Church Politics podcast from the AND campaign. It's church politics because it's when you come in, they say at the very beginning, put your mindset of we are neither Republicans and Democrats. We are just Christians trying to be faithful in the public square. And they go through issues of that Republicans and Democrats would both find. There's good on both sides, folks. That's what I'm just trying to say. So, sometimes it's easy to watch in the news where we try to vilify one another or vilify the other side. Church Politics Podcast is a spectacular podcast where they just say, look, here's the Christian viewpoint. We want to be faithful to this. And it calls both sides out when both sides get out of line. And it encourages both sides when they do things right. So, if you're going in there angry, probably not the best headspace to be in when you listen to that. So go ahead, Major Jamie. Anything else to wrap up the podcast?
I do have one more. Again, this is more a personal, although it can be applied in ministry. So Seedbed has a podcast called The Wake Up Call that I listen to every morning. It's the first thing I do. I get up in the morning, I turn the shower on to get the water hot, and then I turn on the wake up call. And it's always really quick. Like I think the longest one is like 13 minutes, but they're usually like 5 to 7 minutes long. And it's just like a prayer, wake up, O sleeper. There's a prayer. Then right now it's walking through the entire book of Romans. And then it closes with a hymn from their hymnal. I will say, I have to listen to it on 2-speed because the guy, JD Walt, that does it, he just has like this slow, mellow kind of way of talking. And if I listen to him at regular speed, I will not wake up. There's no way. I will not wake up, O sleeper. I will be asleep in the shower. So I have to, I do listen to it on 2-speed. But it's always good. It just kind of, first thing in the morning, getting my mind focused, often thinking about the scripture that they're sharing on and off throughout the day. And again, it's just a helpful personal resource for me, a way to start my day off in the Word, at the start of a busy day.
All right. So, again, we're very grateful for you listening to the Battle Line podcast. By you still being here, you showed that you are a faithful podcast listener, and we've just given you another 9 that could help you out. All right. So, in youth ministry and leadership, let's move to books that we have found helpful. Elizabeth, I believe you have some books that you have said you have found very helpful. Go ahead, recommend those books.
Okay. So I don't know if these qualify, but here we go.
Coming in at number 1. Whatever you throw, we're going to take.
Featured in PR Magazine, Find Your People by Jenny Allen. Great book about friendships.
Okay, say it one more time for the people who missed it.
Okay, Find Your People. You can read an excerpt on prmag.org.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, yep. But wait, there's more. Are you ready for this?
Hit us.
This was not on my script, but I was like, I'm going to include it anyway. This has not been featured in any Salvation Army publication, but the speaker or the author spoke in my college.
Okay.
Like 8 years ago. It's called How to Avoid Falling in Love with a Jerk. If you want to talk to the youth about dating, healthy dating habits, this book is a fab read.
Okay.
Mine was highlighted. Healthy dating. We love that.
Oh man, I'm glad that book was published after Major Jamie and I said I did. Sure. Thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate it. Tell us again how not to date a jerk. Is that what it's called?
Close. How to avoid falling in love with a jerk.
Okay.
And it features the relationship attachment model.
Okay.
It's a fab model. Put it on your walls.
Listen, sis out there, I know you're listening, and I know how dare I say some dating advice, but let me just say this really quick. Jamie's like, oh, Lord.
Yeah, I don't know what's about to happen.
If he is rude to waiters or waitresses, he's not for you, sis. He's not for you. All right.
The opposite goes, that's either way, right?
Okay, either way. Yeah, I'll take it.
Don't date a jerk.
That's actually one of the examples in the book because the number one part of the relationship attachment model is no. And you want to look at examples of other relationships. So that's a huge indicator of how they'll treat you in the future.
My favorite quote that's not in the Bible was I heard somebody once say, you can't be holy and a jerk. And man, that's a tattoo right there.
Stitch it on a pillow.
You can't be holy and a jerk. And if you think, well, I'm not a jerk and other people think you are, Might want to listen. All right, moving on. Major Jamie, what other books you got?
Okay, so I've got a couple. Are we just going to go back and forth, or you may just list them all?
No, let's go back and forth.
Okay.
You go
So
first.
my
You hit
first
me, I'll hit
one.
you.
First one is a spiritual formation book that I read in the last couple of months, and it's called Ministry in the Image of God, the Trinitarian Shape of Christian Service, which I know is the most exciting title.
The longest title.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So this was an assigned text that I had to read for school, but so sometimes I go into these and I'm like, is this going to be terrible or what? But this one was, it is all marked up. I read it so much, some of the pages are falling out. There were just things in there that I found convicting, but also like really great for spiritual formation. It's by Stephen Seamands, Seamands, Stephen Seamands. And it was just very helpful to me. I really enjoyed it. It was a spiritual formation book, an assigned text that I actually would go back and read again.
Excellent. For me, it has nothing to do with youth ministry, but I think it completely changes the way that we look at the world. It's my second favorite book in the world, because the first one has, when you're a Christian, the first one you have to say is, when people say what's your favorite book, you have to say the Bible, or else you're not a Christian. I think. So the second favorite book is The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. So written from the point of the enemy, how they're trying to trick humanity into falling into sin and its temptation. It's teaching in reverse, which I am a huge fan of, right? In fact, one time I preached a whole sermon at a youth event from the viewpoint of the devil. And it's just the same material, just looking at it a different way. So The Screwtape Letters, it's 31 letters. It's very quick. You can knock that book out amazingly fast. All right, Major Jamie, what else you got?
Okay, so my next one would be to check out Ken Shigematsu. And he has several teachings on a rhythm of life. So he has one book called God in My Everything. He has a couple of books, God in My Everything, Survival Guide for the Soul. But I think it's God in My Everything is the one that talks about a rhythm of life. You know, a lot of times we talk about balance. You have to have a work-life balance. But the reality is that balance isn't the best metaphor, I think, for this. And so he talks about rhythm, how instead of balance, life needs to have a rhythm. And so I'll be right up front and tell you that why there are lots of good things that I learned from this book. I have not been the best at implementing the things from the book, but that's on me, not on the author. He also wrote for the War Cry on rhythms.
I was going to say, didn't he do an article for the publications? He
did. After I read the book, I was like, you know what? This is a good reframing. Instead of resolutions in January, let's talk about rhythms. Because sometimes, we set a goal and it's not reasonable, or we're just all in on it, and then other things, kind of fall out of whack.
Yeah.
So it was the January 2023 edition of the War Cry. He wrote an article about rhythms. But I found it very helpful to thinking about Sabbath, the reason for Sabbath, all those kind of things.
For me, for youth ministry, I think, and there's too many to name, so I'm just going to give you the publisher here or the author group. If you can get anything by the Barna Group, Gen Z.
You stole my next one.
Oh, sorry. And I would say Fuller Youth Institute. If you can get anything from Fuller Youth Institute as well, the 3 big questions, those are going to be very helpful in determining what the culture looks like for the kids that you're serving.
Yeah, check out the Fuller Youth Institute store. They have a lot of great books and resources that I found really helpful over the years in youth ministry. My next one I was going to say, you mentioned Barna, is more like a category. So Barna and Springtide both do.
Springtide is amazing help.
They both do. They both have Gen Z. Barna has 2 Gen Z studies. Gen Z, one's called Gen Z and one's called Gen Z 2. And then Springtide releases one each year about Gen Z. And it's super helpful to look at those insights that they've pulled out of these different surveys, and just to kind of get an idea of what is happening with Gen Z, not just in regard to faith, but life in general. Now, obviously, you can't sum up every, individual by kind of the main threads that are coming out about their generation. Not everybody fits into the same mold, but it is a good idea to see, like, how is this culture affecting our young people? What are kind of some of the big topics that we're seeing play out overall throughout this generation? It's been really helpful for peer. And so I would recommend also, if you just are just a nerd who likes to analyze trends, this would be right up your alley.
Yep. For me, and this is my last book that I'm going to recommend. So Major Jamie, if you have any after this, is again, a great youth ministry help, one that helps you understand the culture and gives the most practical ministry advice I think I've ever seen from a book, is called Marching Off the Map by Tim Elmore. Marching Off the Map, Tim Elmore. Find it. It's pretty thick, but I think it's got a lot of help. So Marching Off the Map, Tim Elmore. Major Jamie, any other books?
Yeah, so the last one I'll mention is from the same people who do our Orange Sunday School curriculum.
Oh, yeah, this is
great. And it's called Parenting Your
First Grader, second
Fill it
grader,
in.
Third grader, fourth grader.
Yeah, so they have it all the way from infancy through graduation. They may even go through college. But what it does is they're small booklets, and it's just like how to parent, and it talks about like, here are some developmental things that your kids should be able to do at this age. Here are like how much sleep they need at night. Here's how much. So it just kind of breaks down developmentally where kids can be. It gives good, like, here's some great books to read at this age. Like, what are some cognitive things that they're able to do? Here are some like discussions you could be having with your child at this age. Here are, like, sometimes it may be the same category, and it may, like, okay, if you have a kid that's this age and this age, well, you may talk about it in this way with this kid, but in this, this framework with this other age. So it just kind of helps you navigate parenthood. Even I think if I weren't a parent, if I were just a youth minister, I would still be checking these out because they can help you understand where your youth group is, depending on the age that they are. But you can buy them individually. You can buy them in a giant set. You can buy them in like little, like elementary years, high school years. There's a bunch of different ways you can resource or access that resource. But I think they're helpful just to kind of get a glimpse into developmentally where a young person can be at a certain age.
Nice. All right, so we've talked podcasts for the listeners. We've talked to books. You'll notice that my podcast list was long and Jamie's was not so long. And then the book, Jamie's list was long and mine wasn't. So
and I could keep going. That's a pared down list.
Yeah, you could see where we are. So let's go to videos. Let's just look at some videos. Maybe I don't have too many of these.
You stole mine with the Bible Project.
Oh, sorry.
That was my one video resource.
Sorry. I only have one as well. And this is my personal opinion. Elizabeth, do you have any for good of the cause?
I would say check out the Salvation Army USA Christian Education YouTube channel for some fabulous content.
Okay, cool. I was going to use that one for ministry helps too, but that's good. That is good. We're just stepping on all over each other's toes. But I firmly believe, folks, it's still out there, but I think every Salvation Army youth minister, youth leader should watch the documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. The Social Dilemma, a very hard look at how social media is affecting our country, our kids, and their spiritual lives, their mental lives. It's not a faith documentary at all. But The Social Dilemma, it will change the way that you look at social media for sure. So that's a couple hours long. But it gives you insight into why kids are the way they are and with social media and that world. All right. So I guess that's it for videos. Oh, go ahead, Major.
Nope. I discovered one.
She got one more.
I didn't discover one, but I brought one to mind. So I would say if you have not, I think everybody probably knows about this by now, but The Chosen, I would say
my goodness.
Check out The Chosen.
How are we going to not mention The Chosen? Lord.
So I think it can be powerful to use with your youth groups because the video, like the visual aspect, can relate in a way maybe that the traditional Sunday school class setup or discipleship group setup might not. But there's also a documentary that goes along with it called Unfiltered, Gen Z Reacts to The Chosen. And they just kind of brought these 9 members of Gen Z who have never seen The Chosen before. And then they kind of walk through it with them as they
All kinds of faith
experience
backgrounds, I
The
think, all of
Chosen.
these
Yeah.
kids. Yeah.
Yep. So, but yeah, it's every participant has a different background. They kind of bring their own unique experience to the table. So you get to understand, like, see what it's like through their eyes, but then they also have some discussion and stuff like that. So, it's just, if you just Google unfiltered Gen Z reacts to The Chosen, there are resources out there. You can watch the documentary and see some of the things that were done around it. So it's pretty interesting. I don't know if you like to study Gen Z or you work a lot with Gen Z, it
It's
could
good
be
stuff, yeah.
a helpful resource.
All right, so you got podcasts, you got books, you got some videos. Our last one here will be ministry helps. Maybe some things that Major Jamie and I have bumped into, Elizabeth have bumped into over the years that will just help you in just be another resource to you in helping out youth. So how's this one work, Major Jamie? You want us to go back and forth again?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So let me go first because I'm going to take the big, this is a snake draft, NFL draft.
You don't take one of mine.
So I'm going to say peermag.org.
Hey, you didn't take it.
Is a huge, can I do peermag /? So peermag.org is just a good, I mean, that's what this podcast came out of. It was the Peer magazine. So you'll want to check out peermag.org. You listen to the podcast there anyway. Check out the articles, check all that good stuff. All right, Major Jamie, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was going to say a website, downloadyouthministry.com. So this is a website that has games, teaching, trivia, countdown videos, other videos, like just all kinds of resources to help you do youth ministry. A lot of these things are like, okay, if you're having like a fun night or whatever, like they have one, I think that I was like, who said it? Taylor Swift or the Bible or something like that. So it's just like fun little games that can get your youth group going, or you can, play alongside your Bible studies or whatever. But they have tons and tons of resources. Some of them do cost, or you can pay for a subscription and then you just can download as many games as you want or whatever. But there's a lot of good things on there. Downloadyouthministry.com.
Yeah. I would say for Salvation Army wise, you want to go to salvationarmyyouth.org, the national headquarters Christian education site. It's a site that we manage here in the National Youth Department, for lack of a better phrase. So salvationarmyyouth.org. It has all of your Corps Cadets, junior soldiers, character building badges on there, links to other resources, links to the 4 territorial youth departments. And it's just good stuff. And our stuff's free. So our stuff is free and there for you. So if you didn't know that salvationarmyyouth.org exists, now you do. And I think you'll be blown away by it. All right, Major Jamie, what else you got?
Okay, so my next one is a 2-parter. And the first part is, it's a person. Her name is Jackie Rail. All right, Raihl. Jackie Rail is one of the Salvation Army's liaisons with the Orange curriculum, Sunday school curriculum. And here's the thing I love about Jackie is she's not just there to help you figure out why your downloads aren't working. She's also there to help you brainstorm, like, maybe you're having a hard time implementing the curriculum, or maybe people are like the young people are engaging in the curriculum, but you want to brainstorm how you can get parents involved with the ParentQ app or something like that. She is really great. She has a Salvation Army background, so she understands the Salvation Army, but she also works with Orange, so she knows all about that curriculum, and she's really good at helping you brainstorm how you can make the most of this curriculum for your Corps, right? So she's not just there for technical help. She's there to help you figure out how to apply it. And she's passionate about the Salvation Army and about Orange curriculum, about youth ministry. So she's really good at bringing those things together. If you want to know how to get in touch with Jackie Rail, reach out to your DYS, or you can reach out to Matt or myself, and we can help put you in contact with her. But a great way to get in contact with her is if you go on Facebook and look at the group TSA Orange Ideas and Support. And that's a place where anybody can kind of come and ask questions about, maybe you're wondering how another Corps is implementing this elementary theme for this summer. And so there are people on there talking about those different kind of things. But Jackie's always in and out of that group. So you could also
Nice.
reach her there.
All right. I would, my next one is going to be axis.org, not
that's on my
access, but axis, AXIS.org. So they have a cultural translator that I think is pretty cool. But what is very good about axis.org is pretty much any topic that affects any kids today in the world. They have a parent guide, a conversation kit starter for free that you can click on, and it's about 7-page PDF, and it'll give you things to talk about, how to bring up. Does it solve the issue? Absolutely not. I mean, not much out there nothing outside of Jesus can solve those things, but at least gets the conversation started. So check out axis.org. Major Jamie, go ahead.
Yep. So my next one is probably most people have heard of this one, but it's called Right Now Media. And depending upon what division or what territory you're in, your DHQ might already have a subscription to this. So you just need to check with your youth department or whichever department in your division handles curriculum. But it's
the
just
Netflix
of Bible study material.
Yeah, pretty much.
So they have everything on there from like video-based Bible studies that you can use for Sunday school or for small groups. But they also have like McGee and Me. Anybody remember McGee and Me? You can watch McGee and Me on right now.
To this podcast room.
Listen, they might. If you're a 90s kid, you
Salty.
might. Yeah, so you can watch McGee and Me on Right Now Media, or at least you could last time I was on there. Then also they do like Superbook, which is also a really great for small kids, a cartoon about these kids who like go back in time to the Bible.
It's the new Superbook.
It is the new Superbook. It's not the OG Superbook.
It's not the old anime Superbook.
But they like fall into the Bible and experience what it was like to be a part of that Bible story, which is great. So they have things on there for all age groups. Now I will say, not every Bible study teacher or whatever that's on there lines up with Wesleyan theology, right? So, but that's part of your job as a ministry leader, is to discern and to know our theology, to know what you're teaching. They can also be good conversations to have with people like, okay, this is what they're saying. This is what our doctrine says. Let's wrestle that out, right? So just know it's not something where you can necessarily walk in 5 minutes before your small group starts and pick this video. You have to do your prep work. But there's really super helpful things on there, discussion guides, video teachings, use your discernment. But I think that overall it is a helpful resource.
All right, I'm just going to roll through these I got 6 more, but I'm just going to roll through them in a quick sentence here. So cpyu.org, that's the Center for Parent and Youth Understanding. Check that out. Relevant Magazine, of course, relevantmagazine.org. thinkchristian.net, I like, because that says nothing is secular. Everything is spiritual. You just have to find the redemption story in popular culture. So like it'll take movies, books, albums, and find redemption in there. LoveThyNerd.com, I think is great. LoveThyNerd.com, taking nerd culture in the world and finding Jesus in that. Upworthy.com is good right now because that, again, is not a faith site, but it's good because it's good news. You go there and it only tells good news, only good, heartwarming stories, not the bad news that you see. And then lastly, another partnership that we have is He Gets Us, HeGetsUs.com. You'll want to check out those videos you've seen at the Super Bowl. We have a Salvation Army resource thing, so HeGetsUsPartners.com, and you can get a hold of how the Salvation Army and He Gets Us partners together. That's it for me, Major Jamie. Any other ministry helps out there?
Yep, I just got one more with 2 recommendations within this one. So the one of the positive sides about social media is that there are a lot of groups that you can be a part of. We already talked about one, TSA Orange, Ideas and Supports. But there are a couple of other like youth ministry Facebook groups that you can be a part of. One of them that's helpful to me is Stuff You Can Use, a youth ministry community. And then if you're a lady in ministry, there's a women in youth ministry group. Sometimes that brings its own challenges and things along with it. Not so much necessarily in the Salvation Army as there are in other denominations, but there have been things in there that I found helpful. But particularly in the Stuff You Can Use group, they're great for like, ideas, things that have worked for them. And so it's a good resource, I think, for just seeing what's out there, what other denominations are doing, in youth ministry.
All right. So you've got some podcasts, some books, some videos, and some ministry help websites that can be helpful to you as you continue on. So yes, this is going to get ready to end the Battle Line podcast. It's been a great ride. So what I thought on this last one is we would just go around and just say if there's any final words to people out there. Elizabeth, we'll start with you, then we'll go to Major Jamie, and then to me. If there's any final words you want to just say to our listeners, to people who are doing youth ministry, who are doing Salvation Army ministry out there. Major Jamie, what would be your last couple words to Salvation Army youth leaders out there?
I would just say, youth ministry is not easy. It's not, it's not always seeing quick results. Sometimes the results you won't see for, Matt always says 5, 10, 20 years down the road until they're adults. But it is crucial that we continue on in youth ministry. Young people need Jesus. The church needs young people, so we need to be discipling them. So just stay the course. If we can be of help in any way, reach out. We love youth ministry and we love youth ministers. So we would always love to chat with you.
I would just say 3 quick points as a good sermon. 1, preach the word only. That our kids desperately need correct doctrine in this world. So make sure you're preaching the word in every chance you get. Every, bus ride, every conversation has the word sprinkled throughout that conversation. And don't just add a devotion on to bowling night at the very end, right? Like don't staple a devotion to the very end of something. Hit the word first. And then let the activity outpour of the word, not the other way around. Number 2, don't forget the mission. Never forget the mission of the Salvation Army. We do a lot. We do a lot of good work, but the mission of the Salvation Army is singular in focus. We are to bring people to Jesus, to bring them to his salvation, to point people to Jesus. That's the only reason we do what we do. We help people, we serve, we feed the hungry, we run shelters. Amen. Hallelujah. The mission is to point people to Jesus. And lastly, never forget to lead people as well to the full holiness that we have in Jesus. Jesus has come to give us abundant life, and he's come to make us the privilege of all believers to be wholly sanctified, that our whole spirit and soul and body. And a 13-year-old can understand full holiness. It don't have to wait until you're in your 50s or 60s. So when you're teaching junior soldiers, and when you're teaching Corps cadets, when you're teaching those rambunctious after-school kids, perhaps in the Boys Girls Club or the Croc Camp or anything like that, we can still lead them to full holiness in him. Last time, we're going to go around the horn. What's giving you joy? Major Jamie?
Oh, this is sad. What's the last thing that's bringing me joy? I'll say, so I think that I'll just say overall, maybe not bringing me joy has brought me joy. That's all we've talked to a lot of great people on this podcast. We've laughed a lot. We probably laugh more than we do anything else on this podcast. So that the whole thing I think has just been, a fun experience, getting to meet a bunch of different people who are passionate about what they do, getting to learn more about the Salvation Army, just getting to play dumb games where Elizabeth and I never have any idea what's about to happen. But and then the laughter. And oftentimes when we sign off, we stick around and laugh some more, the 3 of us. So it has been a lot of fun.
For sure.
It has brought me joy.
Elizabeth, how about you?
Heart emojis. Just chatting with y'all has given me joy for ever. You guys rock. So keep being awesome.
Thanks, Elizabeth. It has been a great ride. What's given me joy is just, again, we have talked to a lot of awesome people on this podcast who are still doing the work. So still hit these people up. All these episodes are on peermag.org and they're going to be there. I think what has made me laugh the most is all of us just talking remember when we started this show by a lot of talk about the Hallmark Christmas movies. So we've had a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun with that over the years. So, all right, everybody, you've got podcasts, books, videos. This isn't the end. It's just a sleep period. And that's the thing, too. We know, well, it should be good fitting to know that as followers of Jesus, nothing is ever the end, until he comes, then it's the end when he makes all things new. That's going to end the Battle Line podcast. Check out the Peer website at peermag.org, which will continue. Always will continue. And follow Peer on the socials at peer.magazine. Bye, everybody.
See ya.